Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you are listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we're going to be talking about your January 2022 horoscope. But before we dive into the astrology of the first month of 2022, let me share a few things with you. First and foremost, as you've heard me state it many times, if you're not here for the very first time, I'm a Western tropical astrologer. Therefore, all videos on my channel and all episodes on my podcast will follow Western tropical astrology. In my practice, I use the whole sign house system, in case you are wondering. And if you want to work with me, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. If you go to the services section, you can find the various types of readings and consultations that I offer. You can choose from two major options. A live Zoom consultation, 1 hour long, where we can talk about your natal chart, year ahead, astrocartography, compatibility. The 1 hour live consultation is completely customizable to your needs, or you can choose from one of the audio recorded only readings. The natal chart reading, the year ahead reading, the compatibility reading, whatever suits your needs at this moment in time. There's also another announcement that I would like to make. In January, I am rerunning the Natal Chart Interpretation Masterclass. This is the very first course that I ran. I actually ran it for the first time in November, and I am rerunning it due to popular demand. Spaces are limited. More than 70% are already sold. So if you want to join, you can purchase the masterclass on my website. Once again, also, you go to the services section. I'm going to link it in the description box of the video as well. What can I tell you about the masterclass is the following. It runs in 2 parts, live via Zoom. We are going to get together for almost 6 hours, well, 3 hours at a time, on 2 Saturdays, on the 8th of January and on the 15th of January 2022. This is not a class for beginners. This class is for you. This masterclass is suited to you if you already have an understanding of planetary symbolism, signs, houses, and so on. And if you are looking to piece everything together and to get a very hands-on practical framework for doing natal chart interpretation, both your chart as well as the charts of others, so you can use this however you see fit. It's a very practical class. We're going to have a lot of examples. I'm going to take you through my checklist. Essentially, we're going to go step by step over every single, stage of the process that I personally follow in natal chart interpretation. I'm also going to share tips. I'm going to share my approach. It's almost like you'd be getting a mentoring session with me. Well, actually in 2 parts. So if you want to join, you can find the link in the description box. January 2022, folks, what is going on? Well, a lot is going on. First of all, Venus is retrograde until the end of the month, actually until the, until the 29th of January. It's retrograde in Capricorn, which by now you probably know. Jupiter is in Pisces for a full month. Well, it's going to be in Pisces for quite some time. Mercury is also going retrograde, as if we needed more retrogrades. We are starting off the year with some delays. That's probably the way to look at it. It's a slow start, but it is a start after all, and I'm very excited about Jupiter in Pisces. I'm actually going to do a separate video about Jupiter transiting through Pisces. Mercury goes retrograde on the 14th of January until the 3rd of February. The retrograde of Mercury starts in Aquarius and then moves into Capricorn, along with Venus there. What else is going on? We have obviously a new moon and a full moon. On the 2nd of January, we have a new moon in Capricorn, and I like it because it's trining Uranus in Taurus. The full moon is happening on the 17th of January. It's a full moon in Cancer, and the sun is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Now, this is a bit of a tough one. I'm just going to be very straightforward with you. As much as I like the new moon on the 2nd of January, I don't necessarily like this full moon as much. Yes, there is a bit of a trine to Neptune from the moon, but that conjunction between the sun and Pluto, obviously in opposition to the moon, I'm not a big fan of it. If you ask me, it has written all over it power struggles, secrets revealed. It's a tough one. It seems to be quite painful on an emotional level as well. We'll see. On the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct. Yay! In Taurus. So if you have been experiencing some delays in the area of your chart governed by Taurus, then you're probably going to feel like things are kind of like starting to move forward. Finally. Something super important is happening in January. Well, everything is important, but this is big. This is major. And again, I might do another video on this, another podcast episode. The North Node is moving from Gemini into Taurus, the true node, that is, and it's going to stay there for a year and a half. The nodal axis, whatever kind of like signs it's transiting, it indicates what signs the eclipses are happening in, and we are going to have until 2023 eclipses taking place on the Taurus-Scorpio axis. On the 20th of January, the sun moves into Aquarius. On the 24th of January, Mars moves into Capricorn. Finally, it's getting out of Sagittarius. And on the 30th of January, we have a sun square Uranus in the sky. Tricky one. Why? Well, it looks like there's something going on, especially at a collective level. There's something going on with the economy. Possibly the people are angry. There's turmoil. There's disruption. People don't want to take it anymore. Yeah, it's an interesting time, so to speak. We are obviously going to go into the updates for every single zodiac sign. Before we do that, let me remind you, if you know what your rising sign is, if you know your ascendant, which is the exact degree of your rising sign, listen to the update for the ascendant. If you don't know it, then listen to the update for your sun sign. If you want to listen to both, then that's on you. But in general, you may find that you resonate the most with your rising sign, because the rising sign is where we enter the world. It's the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the time of birth. It is how we approach reality. So it makes sense for us to listen to the rising sign update. It's the closest thing that you're going to get to a personalized forecast that you would normally get from an astrologer such as myself. My dear Aries suns and Aries risings. So what does January 2022 look like for you? Well, you're going to have Venus retrograde throughout the entire month, moving through your 10th house of career. You're going to have lunations triggering your 10th house of career. Jupiter is moving through Pisces this entire month, so through your 12th house of introspection, of spirituality, of dreams, of past lives, and we're also going to have Mercury going retrograde. It's going to start off in your 11th house of friends and goals and long-term plans, and then it's going to slide into, you guessed it, your 10th house of career. So what does that all mean for you, Aries? First and foremost, it looks like the month kicks off with some sort of like new beginning in the area of your career, of your profession. You could be getting some sort of promotion, maybe something that was long overdue around the 2nd of January, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. It could be something that was discussed a while back, but now it is finally coming together. Now, why do I say that it was probably discussed a while back? Well, because of Venus retrograde at the same time in your 10th house of career. Around the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you could be maybe signing the paperwork, the official kind of like documents for a long-term collaboration in the area of your profession, business-wise. It looks like you are maybe going back to working with someone that you've worked with in the past, or you could receive an offer around the 2nd of January, possibly a few days before, a few days after, to reignite that collaborative spark between you and a former business partner. I like the new moon in Capricorn. Why? Because it is going to be trining Uranus in Taurus in your 2nd house of income. The new moon is happening at 12 degrees of Capricorn, and Uranus is at 10 degrees of Taurus, so it's quite a close trine. It seems to be a step up for you, my dear Aries, career-wise. Now, some of you Aries might be thinking, "Oh no, I don't want to get a new job. I'm not gonna start collaborating with someone new." Well, what could happen around this time is that you may finally receive acknowledgement and recognition for a job well done. So it looks like someone in a position of leadership, a boss, has their eyes on you, and they might be wondering, how did I not acknowledge this person up until this point, because they are very good at what they are doing. This could also be a time when you decide to move forward, maybe with an old plan, career-wise. I like the fact that Saturn Aquarius, at the time of the new moon, is sextiling Mars in Sagittarius in the 9th house. You could also be taking some sort of like new approach to your business, to your work, and you feel empowered, I have to say, and you also probably feel like you've got the backing of someone in a position of power. Now, with Mercury going retrograde into your 10th house of career on the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, whatever you discussed, whatever you agreed with someone in a position of power, may not take shape straight away, and you might need to possibly revisit that agreement whilst Mercury is in retrograde. If you did sign some papers, you might need to, I don't know, like re-sign them, or kind of like fine-tune the fine print, as they say, whilst Mercury is moving backwards, or apparently moving backwards, because it's actually an illusion from our perspective here on Earth. Mercury for you rules your 3rd house of communication and your 6th house of day-to-day work, so you might need to maybe adjust some of the processes of working in a new environment, I'd say. With Mercury retrograde in your 11th house from the 14th of January until the 26th, well, this is actually a very good time to catch up with friends from your past, to maybe reconnect with an old group of people, and I have to say, before you move forward with one of your long-term goals or objectives, maybe it's time to kind of like sit down and work through the logistics and through the step-by-step kind of like approach and plan once more, together with someone else. That seems to be the theme here. Now, a very good day for you career-wise. I gotta tell you, a lot is happening for you in the public eye, in the spotlight this month, Aries. Another very good day for your career seems to be the 9th of January, when the Sun is conjunct Venus in your 10th house. If you have like some sort of like presentation that you need to hold in front of someone, if you want to persuade people that you work with, if you want to persuade a potential business partner, if you're having, I don't know, like a job interview or something like that, the 9th of January is actually a very good day. People in power seem to really admire and appreciate what you bring to the table. Now, on the 16th of January, the Sun is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in your 10th house. So something maybe comes to the surface in terms of your boss, maybe something that you did not know of. There could also be some sort of like power struggles higher up in the area of leadership, maybe in your company, and you're wondering, okay, how does this affect me? How is this going to play out for me? What does that mean? On the 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Cancer, actually triggering your 4th house, 10th house axis. So the axis of private life versus public life. Something's coming to the surface, and you may not necessarily fully like it, my dear Aries, career-wise, or you may find out that in order to advance career-wise, something needs to change in your home and family life. I'm thinking maybe you're going to be asked to relocate, or maybe you're going to be asked to, I don't know, no longer work from home. Or maybe you're going to be asked to make some adjustments in order to take advantage of this new role career-wise. You're going to be asked to make some adjustments to your private life, maybe in terms of diary, in terms of schedule. You could also have something to announce to the outside world that has been going on in private for you. Now, this full moon on the 17th of January plays back to what's been going on in your home and family life and residence sector around the 9th of July, 2021, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. So it's kind of like the culmination of something that was going on in July, or that started in July. Some Aries around this time may move, or may decide to relocate, or may decide to say yes to, I don't know, like a job or a position that asks them to relocate. Some Aries might also hear something that kind of like changes their plans for the future, at least short term, about one of their parents. It could be either parent. I'll just go out there and say it. Generally, in my practice, I take the 10th house as the mom and the 4th house as the father. But you're going to hear different astrologers kind of like switching these. So I opt for the more kind of like traditional version. On the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct, my dear Aries, in your 2nd house of income, self-worth and self-esteem. So if you have been experiencing delays in getting paid, I gotta say you're in a much better position from the 18th of January onwards. It may feel like things are kind of like moving forward. Voila, alas. On the 19th of January until the 19th of July, 2023 actually, so for a year and a half, the transiting North Node moves into your 2nd house of income. And this has one big word spelled all over it. New sources of income, essentially, and new approach to money altogether. The North Node pushes us in the direction of our destiny, of our karmic evolutionary path, and many times it brings innovation and novelty and, well, a change. Things can't stay as they are. On the 20th of January, the Sun moves into Aquarius in your 11th house of friends and long-term goals and plans, and it makes sense that Mercury is also going retrograde on the 14th of January, essentially pushing you to catch up with old friends and to make plans for your social life. You could say, especially since the Sun rules your 5th house of fun. So you do with that what you wish. On the 24th of January, Mars moves into Capricorn in your 10th house of career until the 6th of March. I gotta tell you, Aries, you're gonna be on fire career-wise. This is only the beginning. And you may also have to like fight for what you deserve in a career or in a professional environment. That's where a lot of your energy is going to be going until the 6th of March. You may also feel like you've got even more energy than you normally have to deal with professional matters. On the 29th of January, finally, Venus goes out of retrograde in your 10th house, and maybe an agreement that was kind of like faltering, or maybe if you couldn't reach some sort of like agreement with a business partner up until this point, from now on it feels like, okay, yes, now we're talking the same language. And on the 30th of January, the sun in your 11th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the second house. There could be a feeling of maybe disappointment, or maybe even of shock or surprise in regards to one of your friends who no longer seems to share your value system, or the shock could come from you. You might realize, actually, I don't really resonate with these people anymore, or I don't really resonate with this particular person any longer. And that is Aries for January 2022. Now, if you are a Taurus sun or a Taurus rising, my lovely Taurians, Venus, your ruler, is still retrograde this month until the 29th of January. Jupiter is moving through Pisces in your 11th house the entire month, and Mercury is going to go retrograde first in your 10th house of career, and then into your 9th house of foreign lands, foreign countries, and studies. So what's happening here? Well, first and foremost, by the looks of it, you are asked to deal with until the end of the month, until the 29th of January, you're asked to deal with some sort of legal matter that involves also a partner. It could be a business partner, or it could be a romantic partner, but there are some legal implications that you can no longer avoid. It's like the work needs to be done. Venus rules your first house, but also your sixth house of work. You're dealing with the logistics, with the administrative side of it. You're not liking it. Things are moving slow, but it's like, come on, let's do this already, right? Something else that could be happening, especially around the 2nd of January, give or take 3 days before or 3 days after, you could be traveling, maybe, possibly, to seal the deal with a professional partner, or you could be traveling to finally reconnect with a romantic partner. It feels like you're entering a new chapter around the 2nd of January, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, when it comes to your path in life, when it comes to your life direction. And it may be something that you're feeling as a result of solving an outstanding issue with a partner in your life. Again, business partner, life partner, I don't know, but something needs to be sorted out, something needs to be discussed. Talk it out, my dear Taurians. You could also travel until the end of the month to places that you've already been to. You could also experience until the end of the month with Venus retrograde some delays. I'll just go out there and say it. When it comes to contracts being signed for work, there could be a little bit of like back and forth. If possible, I would recommend that you ask for the maybe support of like an attorney, someone who knows the law, someone who knows the lay of the land, especially if you're dealing with legal matters that involve, I don't know, like a different country altogether. I like the new moon on the 2nd of January. Why? Because it's trining Uranus in your first house. So it does seem to bring a nice surprise. It can be a nice surprise connected with your studies. It can be a nice surprise connected with traveling. It can be a nice surprise connected with a legal matter that has to do with like a partnership, a business relationship. And it can also feel like this is when you're finally starting to move forward with accumulating more knowledge in your life. It feels like a bit of an aha moment, and you're feeling very free at last somehow. You could also embark upon a new course of study, maybe something that you wanted to do a while back, but now you're finally, I don't know, mustering the courage to do so. On the 2nd of January, Mercury moves into your 10th house of career, and it's going to go retrograde in this part of your chart on the 14th of January until the 26th of January, and then it moves into Capricorn, into your 9th house. So between the 14th of January and the 26th of January, there could be some misunderstandings. There could be some things that kind of like get lost in translation when it comes to your communication with bosses, with people in positions of authority. Also, when it comes to you sharing information with a wider audience in a professional environment. So I don't know, if you have a presentation, if you have like if you're holding like a class, a course, a webinar, a conference, please triple check that. I don't know, the tech side of things is working properly. Triple check that you have a backup of your presentation on a separate hard drive or something like that, because there could be some issues. There. From the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, you may need to make some extra payments. Or some outstanding payments for something of a legal nature, for something connected with traveling or visas, or for something connected with your studies. So there could be like an extra expense or an expense that maybe you didn't think that you had to make, and alas, you have to make it. And if you're traveling between the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, okay, leave home early. That's the one thing that I can say, and maybe check that you've got everything in your bag. And maybe take into account that there could be delays still. Mercury retrograde, what can I say? I told you that this year is starting off with the bang, but the bang is slow. It's like, let's move forward. But the entire month you've got Jupiter in your 11th house of friends. So you're probably feeling very privileged, very lucky to be part of the groups of people that you are a part of. It may also feel like people want to help you, like whatever you need. Your friends are there for you. They open doors for you. They're here to offer like a helping hand. They're here to make your life easier and smoother through any sort of like transition that you're going through. So if you need help with anything, do reach out to friends, my dear Taurus, in January. On the 9th of January, we have a Sun conjunct Venus in Capricorn in your 9th house of foreign lands and foreign countries. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day, Taurus, to, go out to the theater with your romantic partner. It's also a very beautiful day to expose your ideas to a wider audience, to enjoy a night out, to enjoy being in public. You're very admired. It also looks like if you needed some sort of positive kind of response from someone or an institution of some shape or form, maybe something connected once again with traveling or with education. If you needed a yes, then you can get it on the 9th of January. I did tell you that Mercury goes retrograde on the 14th. Dun, 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 dun. On the 17th of January, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Cancer, triggering your 3rd house, 9th house axis. Now, this full moon plays back to the new moon that you experienced in 2021 around the 9th of July, 3 days before, 3 days after. Have a think about what you started off at the time. Did you start learning something? Did you start studying something? Did you network with someone at the time? Did you enter a new community? Because you're reaching some sort of like point of culmination. By the way, some Taurians might experience their car breaking down around this time, especially Taurus risings. Don't say I didn't warn you. Some Taurians might also hear like some, I don't want to call it distressing news, but completely unexpected news connected with their siblings. If you have siblings, it looks like a secret is coming to the surface. Some Taurians might experience a not such a great result in terms of one of their exams. I'll just go out there and say it. Pluto energy is heavy energy, right? You may also have a bit of an aha moment. It might feel like you discover something if you've investigated kind of like a lot, if you've done a lot of research. It may feel like you're finally discovering something that you wanted to discover around this time, but actually what you find out is mind-blowing, and maybe you did not expect to kind of like find this type of information, Taurus. Now, the sun for you, Taurus, rules your fourth house of home. Maybe you're finding out something that was, I don't know, like a bit of information that was buried, connected with your past, with your parents. It's a heavy one. You are finalizing something in terms of learning, or in terms of investigation, but what you're getting out of it may be a lot more jarring than you thought it would be. On the 18th of January, however, Uranus goes direct in your first house. So if you've been feeling a little bit, unsure of your direction in life, Uranus going direct on the 18th of January, and the North Node moving into your first house on the 19th of January. They both seem to be clearing things up a little bit. You could be feeling in the next few months that you're getting clarity. With the North Node in your first house, you are in for a year and a half of self-growth, of self-development, and of, well, radical shift of life direction. I'll probably do a separate video on the nodal axis, but it's big. On the 20th of January, the sun moves into Aquarius in your 10th house, illuminating this part of your chart for the next 4 weeks. It may feel like no matter how much you want to stay at home and kind of like deal with whatever is happening in your home and family life, it's like, no. All eyes are on you career-wise. It is your time to shine. On the 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars moves into Capricorn in your 9th house. Mars energizes whatever it touches, so there could be travels, there could be also, fights of a legal nature. You could also find yourself defending your belief system a lot more until the first week of March, with Mars in this corner of your, this section of your chart. And finally, Venus goes direct on the 29th of January in your 9th house. Maybe someone kind of like changes their mind and decides to help you with something of a legal nature, or something connected with your educational path. And the 30th of January is a bit of a challenging date. Why? Because you seem to have kind of like an open conflict, maybe like an ego clash with someone in a position of power, maybe with a boss or with a male kind of important figure in your life, an influential male figure, when the sun is squaring Uranus and Taurus in your first house. And you might be like, no, I am freeing myself from the oppressive, influence of this character. That's what it looks like, Taurus. My dear Geminis, Gemini suns and Gemini risings, what does the first month of the year bring for you? Well, it's a mixed bag. Let's just put it this way. Now, it's not just you that it's a mixed bag for. It is a mixed bag for everyone. Why? Well, because we've got Venus retrograde throughout the entire month until the 29th of January. Also because we have Mercury retrograde from the 14th of January until the 3rd of February. Mercury is going to be retrograde in Aquarius in your 9th house until the 26th of January, and then it moves into Capricorn in your 8th house until the 3rd of February. The good news is that this is the very first full month of Jupiter moving through Pisces in your 10th house of career. Geminis, this year is a beautiful year for you in terms of, especially Gemini risings, in terms of new career opportunities, in terms of taking a leap of faith career-wise. So I do want you to remember this, even when the going gets rough throughout the year. And remember that many times opportunities do come disguised as hardship, hard work, disruption, all sorts of, challenges that get us out of our comfort zone. This month, you're still going to be dealing with some issues, let's call them this way, related to shared resources and maybe investments and maybe inheritances and maybe intimacy as well. So first and foremost, let me flag to you what the new moon, because the year kicks off with a new moon. How beautiful is that? It's a new moon happening on the 2nd of January, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, in your 8th house, in a harmonious aspect with Uranus in Taurus in your 12th house. Essentially, you could get finally, I don't know, like an approval on a mortgage, on a loan. You could be finally collecting the rewards on an existing investment, although it feels delayed. It feels like this should have happened a while back. It's like, oh my God, finally, but this is so unexpected. Like, what do I do with it now? So it could catch you a little bit by surprise. This could also be a time, maybe, when you receive some sort of gift, maybe from someone that feels bad for something that it did to you. It feels like a bit of a mea culpa, as they say. It could also feel like you are finally overcoming maybe an issue that you were having in the area of intimacy with a romantic partner, and it's been an ongoing thing. It's been on and off. Like it's been coming back to your attention over and over again, and voila. Now the thing seems to kind of like solve itself, which is great. I'll just go out there and say it. Old romantic partners are likely to come back into your life, Geminis, and there could be this sort of like, I don't know, like hot fling that is going on, especially around the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. It feels like you are getting perspective around this time on an issue that's been plaguing you, psychologically speaking. And you look at it from a new angle and it's like, how did I not look at it this way? And this new angle seems to be brought into your life by someone from your past. So overall, I'm liking it. There can be kind of like back and forth conversations connected with inheritance, connected with a mortgage, connected with a loan until the end of the month. And also from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, Mercury goes retrograde in the same part of your chart. Mercury for you, my dear Geminis, governs obviously your house of identity, but also your 4th house of home. You could be finally, I don't know, like dividing assets with a family member or receiving like an early inheritance, or you could have a family member from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February paying you back what they owed you. Now, the other possibility is you could have a family member asking you for money again. And you might not be thrilled about it. It looks like there's going to be a lot of conversation around money and family between the 26th of January until the 3rd of February. Between the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, you may also need to pay for something that you did in the house. Maybe like you renovated the house or you bought something for the house, and now it's time to finally pay off, or there could be an outstanding payment. I'll just go out there and say it. Since we started talking about Mercury retrograde, I gotta tell you that the retrograde happens in your 9th house from the 14th of January until the 26th. And throughout this particular period, there could be delays with traveling. There could be delays with visas. There could be delays with legal matters. There could also be challenges, delays in like paperwork getting signed or reaching its destination when it comes to higher education, when it comes to university matters or like studies. So triple check that, I don't know, the post has actually arrived. Check your junk and like spam inbox in your email. Make sure that your outbox is cleared up, and do take extra precautionary measures when you are delivering something internationally. And also, if you are traveling internationally, it might not necessarily go as smoothly as you thought it would, but what can you do? Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta travel when Mercury is retrograde, so if you have to, that's it. We have on the 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, a full moon in Cancer in your second house of income. And it's also triggering your 8th house of other people's money, with the Sun conjunct Pluto there. And this full moon is reflecting back at what was going on in your life around the 9th of July 2021, give or take a few days before, a few days after. Have a think about what kicked off financially for you in July, because you're reaching a point of culmination middle of January around this. Now, you could have to deal with a payment or an expense that you did not think you had to deal with. You could also have like some taxes to pay, and maybe more than you thought you had to pay around this time, my dear Geminis. I don't know. It seems to be taking some money out of your pocket, and maybe more than you thought it would take out of your pocket around this time, my dear Geminis. This full moon is not an easy full moon because it's the Sun in conjunction with Pluto. So Pluto brings things that are buried to the surface. The Sun rules your 3rd house. It could also be maybe a dispute over money with siblings. Yeah. It's a bit of a tough one. Now, I want you to be prepared, okay? So maybe save some money aside and don't overspend for the holiday season. I realize I'm releasing this around Christmas, so the holiday season is pretty much done. If you've bought a lot of gifts, then that's it. Now, on the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 12th house. If you've been having, I don't know, like this sort of like feeling that you can't connect with yourself when you're on your own, if you've been having difficulties, I don't know, like understanding or maybe interpreting your dreams and so on, stuff seems to be clearing up after the 18th of January. And also on the 19th of January until July of 2023, the North Node moves into Taurus in your 12th house. So you're in for a year and a half of dedicating even more time and attention to your spiritual life, to understanding your shadow, to understanding your blind spots. On the 20th of January, the Sun moves into Aquarius in your 9th house for the next 4 weeks. So it is putting the spotlight on studies, on higher education, on exams for you. Also on traveling, maybe to places that you've already been to. On the 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars moves into Capricorn in your 8th house. It looks like you're going to have to fight for what is rightfully yours in some sort of like shared resources environment, or maybe fight to get that sort of like loan approval, or maybe fight against some sort of tax that or fine that you don't actually think that you have to pay. So you have to push back and say, no, this is not okay. This is not good. On the 29th of January, Venus goes direct. Alas, finally. Hallelujah. And on the 30th of January, the Sun in Aquarius in your 9th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 12th house. This could be a day of frustration, of unexpected frustration. When it comes to visas, traveling, foreign residency, also when it comes to maybe an exam of some shape or form. Geminis, like I said, it's a mixed bag. Now, if you are a Cancer Sun or a Cancer Rising, oh my gosh, Cancerians, literally everything is revolving around the area of partnerships, relationships, and one-to-one interactions for you this month. I'll just go out there and say it. Now, let me start off with the good stuff. The great news, Cancer, is that this month is the first full month of having Jupiter in Pisces in your 9th house. Pisces is a sign that trines Cancer. If we're talking here about whole sign aspects, this is amazing. Why is it amazing? Because this is essentially a year in which you're probably feeling, Cancerians, like you are becoming wiser. You're much more interested in like new philosophies, maybe a new spiritual belief system. It feels like your knowledge is expanding. There's going to be opportunities for you to travel this year like there haven't been for well, years, for 12 years, pretty much. You did get a taste of Jupiter in Pisces in 2021 between the 13th of May until the 28th of July. So have a think about what you were doing at the time. As a Cancer rising, I can tell you that at the time I was traveling, I was having a great time, and what else was I doing? Catching up with friends, yeah, just looking at the big picture of my life and being grateful for it. Now, I told you the good news. Let me tell you the more challenging stuff. I don't want to say the bad news because it's not bad. It's just a month of delays, of like reevaluations and things like that. So Venus is retrograde in your 7th house of partnerships until the 29th of January. This could be an entire kind of like month of reconnecting with old business partners. It can be an entire month when, let's see, you rediscuss with your existing life partner, romantic partner, you rediscuss about some of the plans that you had made for your home and living situation. Maybe you pick them back up where you left off. Retrogrades are very good for picking back up something from the past. They're not necessarily that good for starting off something fresh and new, but a good way to make use of the retrograde period is to have a think about, okay, what did I not finish, or where do I think there's more work to be done? So throughout the entire month, you could reevaluate together with a partner your entire living situation and maybe plans connected with, I don't know, like your property, your home, your residence. You could also maybe spend more time at home with a partner, doing some catch up, maybe because you did not have that much time to spend lately. So that is a possibility. You could also be spending time with old friends from home throughout this entire period, since Venus rules your 11th house of friends and also your 4th house of home, my dear Cancer risings in particular. On the 2nd of January, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon in Capricorn in your 7th house, trining Uranus and Taurus in the 11th house. I like this. Why? It looks like you're forging a new partnership, probably business-wise. And it's something that is really helping you fulfill one of your long-term goals and plans. It seems to be also a partnership that brings into your life maybe a new group of people. Possibly you could kind of like be propelled into a new tribe altogether as a result of what's happening in your partnership sector, my dear Cancerians. By the way, this is also a time when, if you're single, I know some of you are gonna say, I don't care, I want to be single, etc., etc. I'm not talking to you. Ignore me. If you're single, this can be a very good time to, reconnect with someone from your past, maybe someone that you're friends with, and reevaluate the relationship and say, okay, maybe we can be more than friends. Maybe we can be lovers. Maybe we can be life partners. It is possible. It is possible. I'll just say it. I had to put it out there. So it's not kind of like a new relationship. It's an existing friendship that's being reevaluated. Now, from the 14th of January until the 3rd of February, we have Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury, for you Cancerians, governs your 3rd house of communication and your 12th house of the shadow. I'm going to throw some dates at you, and it's going to get very confusing. So maybe you need to get a pen and paper. I always scribble something, so I have like a pen and paper at hand. Mercury goes retrograde from the 14th of January until the 26th in Aquarius in your 8th house. You may need to revisit, I don't know, some tax-related documents. You might need to pay off like an old debt. You might need to pay off your credit cards. You might have like an old kind of like expense coming back at your door and saying, hello, have you forgotten about me? Also, if you were expecting some sort of approval on loans, mortgages, it could be delayed. It could be delayed by the looks of it. And you're probably not going to get an answer sooner than February. I'll just go out there and say it. If you need to send documents to the tax man, Cancerian, I recommend that maybe you do so before the 14th of January, if possible. If not possible, then just like go through everything that you fill up with a fine-tooth comb. Now, from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, Mercury moves into Capricorn in your 7th house, Mercury retrograde. So you may have felt like you've agreed with your partner to do something, and now you realize that they understood something very different. Or let's say you signed a business partnership at the beginning of the month, you signed a collaboration, and now you realize we need to redo the contracts because, alas, we didn't cover this, and that. So something kind of like could be coming to your attention that you did not notice when you agreed to collaborate with this partner. Also, if you just started dating someone, there could be some secrets coming to the surface. Why secrets? Because Mercury also rules your 12th house, things that you don't see. So Mercury retrograde in your 7th house, it's like the partner or someone who you're seeing could be saying, oh, actually, and this is happening in my life, and I forgot to tell you about this, and, well, yeah. So there's a little bit of misunderstandings going on over there. Now, on the 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Cancer, triggering your 1st house, 7th house axis. This full moon plays back to the 9th of July 2021, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, when you had a new moon in your 1st house of identity. Essentially, this full moon seems to be asking you to reevaluate your life direction based on how it is impacted by what's happening in your partnership sector, by what's happening in your relationship sector. So you might need to decide, okay, I want to move forward with this partnership. What does that mean for my life direction? Or you could say, actually, you know what? This is not aligned with where I'm headed in life, so I'm just going to let it go. And it is a time of breakups. I'll just be very frank, not just personally, but also professionally. It can be a time of breakups. Why? That Pluto is not taking any prisoners. It's saying in or out. It's kind of like extreme energy. You could also be feeling a little bit controlled and maybe dominated by a partner in your life, maybe a business partner or a life partner, or a potential business partner or life partner. This could also be a time when you find out that you've got like a very open enemy. Because the 7th house, let's not forget, is also the house of opponents and of adversaries. And they're kind of like in your face. It's like, yes, I'm the one who's against you. Not easy, I'll just say it. Now, on the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 11th house. Yay! So, full speed ahead with your long-term plans. On the 19th of January, the North Node moves into Taurus in your 11th house. I gotta tell you, for 1.5 years moving forward, you're entering a karmic chapter where you're asked to focus on your future and also asked to really have a good long think to how you are contributing to the wider world, and to have a long think about what causes you're aligning yourself with, and therefore what people you are aligning yourself with. Who do you belong in terms of tribe, my dear Cancerians? That is the question. 20th of January, the sun moves into Aquarius in your 8th house for the next 4 weeks. So you're gonna focus a lot. There's a lot of emphasis being placed on shared resources, on intimacy, maybe on sharing your values with someone else, and maybe also solving a crisis of a financial nature. It doesn't have to be a crisis, but it could be something that needs to be solved, essentially. On the 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars moves into Capricorn. So it looks like a partner is maybe, or a potential business partner is kind of like losing their patience with you a little bit, and they might try to be pushy, and you may feel a little bit attacked by someone from the outside. It also looks like you're having a very open kind of like face-off for the next 6 weeks with someone at work. Why at work? Because Mars also rules your 10th house of career. 29th of January, Venus finally goes direct in Capricorn in your 7th house. Now you know what's what with a partner in your life. You know whether you agree or you disagree, so you can kind of like move forward. And on the 30th of January, we have a little bit of a crisis in your friendship sector. Why? Because the sun in your 8th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 11th house. You may feel like a friend all of a sudden is no longer aligned with you in terms of values. You could also feel like you're discovering something that a friend was hiding from you, and it makes you feel a little bit, it makes you wonder whether this friendship is actually something that's going to help you build the future that you want to build for yourself. And I'm not saying that friends need to help you build anything, but I am saying some people, in order for us to fulfill our long-term goals, some people just need to stay in the past. Not all friendships are meant to last forever. And I know that's a tough one to swallow. My dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings, what does January 2022 look like for you? Well, Leos, you have a lot of work to do this month. I will just go out there and say it. You have old work to do. You have new work to do. You have a new chapter kicking off work-wise. So you are busy. But before we get into the whole kind of like busyness aspect of January, let me tell you the super good news. So the super good news is the following. Jupiter, great benefic, bringer of good luck, bringer of opportunities, bringer of expansion. Jupiter is finally in your 8th house, and it's going to expand for most of 2022, the area of intimacy, of connection, of psychological transformation, of merging power with someone else. It is a fantastic year overall, but a very good month in particular for connecting on a deeper, more profound level with someone in your life. I'm talking here especially of a romantic partner. It is also a very good year in general, especially for Leo risings, to attract funds from others, to attract money from other people via investments, passive income, loans, mortgages, money that comes into your life, not because of the work that you do on a day-to-day basis, but because of external actors at play. Now, Venus is going to be retrograde in your 6th house of day-to-day work until the 29th of January. Venus rules your 10th house of career and your 3rd house of communication. The good news is that around the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you may finally come to an agreement with a work partner. You may bring someone on your team. You may also start off a new job or a new work project with someone that you used to work with in the past. And you seem to be feeling super excited about it. Why? Because this is advancing your career somehow. Maybe in a way that it should have been advancing. Maybe in a way that it should have been moving forward for quite some time, and it feels like, yes, finally, now I'm getting the start that has been delayed. Speaking of a new project or a new kind of like work-related chapter, some Leos will finally hear that they've gotten that job offer around the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. Some Leos might receive a work offer from an old colleague, from an old boss, from an old collaborator, work-wise. Like I said, you're probably excited about it, and you're looking forward to it. It does seem to be helping you climb up the ladder career-wise. We have a Mercury retrograde also this month, so I'm going to throw some dates at you. Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 14th of January until the 3rd of February. Between the 14th and the 26th, Mercury is going to be retrograde in your 7th house of partnerships and committed relationships. There could be misunderstandings. There could be things getting lost in translation. There could be a feeling of like speaking a different language in your relationship, in your marriage, or in a business partnership. You may need to revisit throughout this period of time maybe some sort of contract that you signed with a business partner. You may also need to revisit some sort of financial agreement that you had made with a partner. The good news is that when Mercury is retrograde in your 7th house, so from the 14th of January until the 26th, you could have a partner kind of like pay back to you what they owed you. So an outstanding payment or an outstanding debt might be paid to you for services offered. Now, Mercury retrograde moves into your 6th house of day-to-day work from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February. This is a time when there could be some challenges in communication with colleagues at work, especially challenges that have to do with how you spend money, or some issues around how much you're paying them or how much they're paying you if you're working as a freelancer, if you're working as a contractor. You may also feel like you need to deliver something at work throughout this period that maybe hasn't been paid for, or you may feel like you need to deliver a type of work that hasn't been agreed on throughout this period. You may also need to redo some sort of work that you've done in the past and that you may have already gotten paid for. Now, because the 6th house is also the house of health, you might need to pay for some sort of like health-related treatments between especially the 26th of January until the 3rd of February. You could also, by the way, I did forget to mention this, but I'm going to mention it now. Around the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you may decide to kickstart your diet or your new health plan, and you might have second thoughts in the last week of January about doing this thing all together. It is a very good month to reevaluate your health habits, my dear Leos, January in general. Now, on the 16th of January, we have the Sun conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in your 6th house, right before the full moon. That's happening on the 17th of January. So 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon triggering your axis of service and your axis of health, mental health, 12th house, physical health, 6th house. You may need to unexpectedly deal with a health-related issue that comes to the surface, that gets kind of like inflamed, or you may discover that actually something that you thought was treated is not fully treated. So there's more there to do. I would recommend having a think about what was happening around the 9th of July, 2021, 3 days before, 3 days after, because that's when you had a new moon in your 12th house. And now you're having a full moon in your 12th house. There could be an unexpected departure in your department at work around the 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. Or you could hear that your work is changing radically for the future, and you're maybe no longer going to be working with a client or working in a specific environment that you have worked with that you have worked in up until now, dear Leos. Now, on the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 10th house of career, so you're finally moving forward with your career plans. There have been delays, there have been like challenges and blockages, but now it's like full speed ahead. 19th of January, the North Node moves into Taurus in your 10th house of career. Okay, so this is the beginning of a 1.5 year chapter, with the North Node moving through your 10th house of career, telling you, where are you going career-wise? Is this the right industry for you? Is this really what you want to do for the future? Is this the right company for you? Have you been taking things a little bit too slowly? Are you stuck in a career? Because if you feel stuck, then I can tell you that radical changes are coming in this area of your life, and your best bet is to not hold on to the past, to not hold on to what you have built so far career-wise, because it's time to build something new. It's time to release the old. 20th of January, the sun moves into Aquarius in your 7th house, illuminating your house of partnerships until, well, pretty much the last week of February. It may feel like your partner is asking you for a lot of attention, and relationships and partnerships in general are demanding a lot of attention on your end, my dear Leos. 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars moves into Capricorn in your 6th house of health and work. You're going to be very busy at work until the first week of March. And it looks like you're also adopting maybe some sort of new routine on a day-to-day basis at work. Now, you may have conflicts with colleagues, I gotta tell you, because you're in a rush, you want to get things done. It may feel like people are moving slower than you're actually moving, so be careful there. Mars likes to work alone, but if you have to work with others, that can become a little bit frustrating, Leos, just for you to know. Venus goes direct finally in Capricorn in your 6th house on the 29th of January. So any sort of like disagreements maybe that you've had with someone in the work environment, they seem to be clearing out. And on the 30th of January, we have a bit of a tough day. Okay, why do we have a tough day? Because it feels like you're being pulled in two completely different directions. On the one hand, your partner wants your full-blown attention and support. On the other hand, your career is changing rapidly, so your professional life is changing rapidly, and it can feel hard to divide your focus in this way. So this is a bit of a tougher day. But all in all, an exciting month, my dear Leos, and a very busy month, and a very productive month also. Now, if you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, okay, what is going on here? My dear Virgos, I think you're the lucky ones this month. You're going to be like, Rux, what are you talking about? Yes, I do think you're the lucky ones, and I'll explain why. Because you're going to have a lot of activity happening in your 5th house of fun, of romance, of passions, of hobbies, of entertainment. Also because you're going to have the first full month of Jupiter and Pisces in your 7th house of relationships. And Jupiter actually rules your 7th house of relationships, Virgos, especially Virgo risings, and it also rules your 4th house of home. So what's going on is the following. We have Venus in retrograde in Capricorn in your 5th house until the 29th of January. So it may feel, my dear Virgos, that you are maybe going back to one of your old passions, one of your old hobbies, maybe wondering, should I have given this more attention? Should I have spent more time maybe cultivating this talent? Should I have maybe invested more in this hobby of mine and this passion of mine? The answer is probably, yeah, I'll just say it. On the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a new moon in Capricorn in your 5th house in a harmonious aspect with Uranus in Taurus in your 9th house. Okay, so this is when you seem to either discover a new hobby or rediscover your passion for something that you used to do maybe as a child, and now you feel inspired to pursue it further and maybe even to enroll upon some sort of course or class. It also feels like you are looking at an old passion and hobby with new eyes. It's like you found a new perspective that is a lot more fulfilling. Some Virgos may hear news of pregnancy, especially Virgo risings. Some Virgos may also travel with a romantic partner around this time quite unexpectedly, so there could be like a surprise that a romantic partner has in store for them, and maybe it is a trip that was postponed and now it's finally happening. I do want to tell you that Mercury is also going to be retrograde, Virgos, in January, on the 14th of January, Mercury goes retrograde until the 3rd of February. Now, from the 14th of January until the 26th, Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So what's happening here is that you may need to revisit some old work-related projects. You may also need to get back in touch with people that you worked with in the past. It may also feel like things are moving a little bit slower in terms of communication at work. It may also feel like you need to reassess maybe a new health related habit or something that you've introduced into your routine because it's not necessarily working for you. So you might need to give it another I don't know, like good think, maybe sleep on it for some time and decide whether this is actually something healthy for you. And from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, Mercury is retrograde in Capricorn in your 5th house. I like this because to me it says that you are having fun that you were supposed to have a while back. It also says to me that you're somehow finding your passion again for something that maybe you wanted to do professionally a while back, and now it's like, oh, I need to revisit this, or I need to review this, or actually I do really like this this topic, and I think I can kind of like include it in my work. For those of you who have children, there could be some delays that your children are kind of like experiencing, and maybe some frustration that they're experiencing at work, maybe at school. Obviously, I'm like, yes, children, work. It's like, go to your job, child. There could be some frustration that children are experiencing at school, maybe because they don't understand something, so you need to explain it to them, or they're feeling like misunderstood by colleagues in some shape or form. Maybe they're dealing once again with a communicational challenge that they dealt with in the past. So that is also quite possible. On the 17th of January, give or take 3 days before or 3 days after, we have a full moon in Cancer in your 11th house, triggering the 11th house, 5th house axis. Cancer is a sign that sextiles Virgo, so it's quite friendly. I recommend looking back at what was going on in the area of friends and long-term goals around the 9th of July 2021, 3 days before, 3 days after, because this full moon is bringing back to your attention topics that you dealt with in July of 2021. It looks like this is a time maybe when you're hearing some sort of like unexpected or like buried kind of like piece of information connected with one of your friends. It may also feel like this is the end of the road for one of your long-term plans. So it's either, yes, this is done, this is fulfilled, this is over, or it's like this has to die. So it may feel like you need to release maybe an old goal, an old dream, an old objective in order to move forward with your life. It can be a very social time, but it is also a social time when there can be all sorts of like buried feelings and emotions coming to the surface in relationships with friends. So friends might reveal to you things that you had no idea about, and it's like, oh my God, where is this coming from? Like, I am shook. That's the energy of this. On the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 9th house. Okay, so if there have been delays in the past few months in terms of your entire kind of like educational path, you can breathe easily, finally, Virgos, especially Virgo risings, because the path is becoming smoother. On the 19th of January until July of 2023, the North Node moves into Taurus in your 9th house. I like this. Why? Because Virgos, in the next year and a half, it looks like you will be altering completely your belief system. It's like you're going to discover a completely new, mind-blowing life philosophy that will change your perspective, that will change your worldview. And it also looks like you're going to be focusing a lot in the next year and a half on higher education. Some of you might go back to, I don't know, like getting their master's degree, getting their PhD, or something of that nature. On the 20th of January, the sun moves into Aquarius in your 6th house of health and day-to-day work. Virgos, I told you that this month is fun. Well, it's going to be less so. It's going to be more busy after the 20th of January. I'll just go out there and say it. Why? Because the sun illuminates everything that it touches. So it's going to illuminate your work processes. It's going to illuminate your job. It's going to kind of like hone in on what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. On the 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars moves into Capricorn in your 5th house. You want to put a lot of energy into enjoying yourself. You want to put a lot of energy maybe into also learning, because Mars rules your 3rd house, learning about a topic that you really care about, that gets you out of bed in the morning, that you're like, yes, this is my thing. This is like, I like this. I live for this. So it's kind of like a very passionate Mars when it comes to your hobbies and your areas of interest. 29th of January, Venus finally goes direct in Capricorn in your 5th house of romance. If there has been confusion when it comes to a romantic relationship, there's probably going to be less confusion after Venus goes out of retrograde. Now remember, Mercury is retrograde in this area of your life, so you might need to revisit old conversations with a romantic partner. And on the 30th of January, the sun in Aquarius in your 6th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 9th house of contracts, of legal matters. There could be an unexpected issue with like a contract at work. It may need to be redone, or it's something that you did not take into account, and now you're like, oh, so I need to go through the entire kind of like bureaucratic process again? Possibly. It's possible. You might need to go through it once again. And that is Virgo. My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings. What does January have in store for you? Well, a lot of time spent at home, actually. There's a lot of energy directed towards the area of home and family life and residence and living situation. It looks like you've got a lot of old stuff to solve in this area of your life. It looks like you have to maybe reconnect with family to discuss about, well, about shared resources, possibly about the topic of, I'm thinking also loans, inheritance, and so on. This is also a month in which you seem to focus a great deal on reaching an agreement with a partner when it comes to your living situation. And again, loads of back and forth, but if there's anyone who does negotiation well, it's obviously you, the diplomat, the peacemaker. So you're in your element, I have to say. The very good news is the following, my dear Libras. I mean, it might be good news for some of you. Maybe some of you are not necessarily going to be so thrilled about it. This is the very first month of the year in which you're going to have Jupiter transiting through your 6th house of day-to-day work. Jupiter is the planet of opportunity, of expansion. Jupiter for you rules your 3rd house of learning and communication. I gotta tell you, this month, it does look like you might already be thinking about something new to study, to maybe put into practice in your day-to-day work, or maybe some new kind of like courses or classes to attend that can help you be of even more or better service to those that you impact with the work that you do. This year is a year of expansion of growth work-wise. It is also a year of taking on new responsibilities work-wise, and of having your team kind of like grow work-wise by the looks of it. Now let's go back to January before I jump to like this entire year. 2nd of January, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a new moon in Capricorn in a harmonious aspect to Uranus and Taurus in the 8th house. It looks like this is a new beginning for you, home-wise, family-wise. You could be moving into a new home, Libras. You could be getting approval maybe for a mortgage. You could receive maybe a lump sum of money that helps you maybe renovate the home. It seems to be something that was supposed to happen maybe a while back, and you kind of like lost hope in a way, and now it's finally happening, and it's like, this is such a nice unexpected turn of events. There could be this sort of like feeling that you are overcoming maybe a crisis in your home and family life, that you're having some sort of like breakthrough. The period of transition seems to be over by the looks of it. There could also be a surprise appearance in your home and family life. What do I mean by that? I don't know. Like some of you might hear of a new baby coming into your midst, into the family, a new surprise family member being added to the fold. Some of you may hear that, I don't know, like a family member solved their financial issues. In any case, it seems to be a reason for, I don't even want to say celebration, but relief. For you to breathe easily when it comes to this area of your life. Now, on the 14th of January, we also have Mercury going retrograde. Mercury is going to go retrograde until the 26th of January in your 5th house of children, of romance, of passions, of hobbies. And then from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, it's going to be retrograde in your 4th house of home. So until the 26th of January from the 14th, it looks like maybe, possibly, you need to, I don't know, like rediscuss with a romantic partner about some of your travel related plans. You may also review or revisit what you have learned on a topic that you're passionate about. Maybe you want to, I don't know, like take an exam, maybe something that you were supposed to take a while back, and now you're thinking, yes, I think this is a good time to go through the course material once again. So there's this energy of reviewing information connected with something that you're passionate about, and kind of like doing a jogging your memory kind of thing. So you're doing this sort of like refresher. Is that what it's called? You're refreshing your memory when it comes to a topic that you are passionate about. Now, from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, well, it looks like you need to maybe revisit some paperwork connected with your home and living situation. Maybe you thought you had signed something, and then you realize, actually, I don't want this to be in the contract. Or you could have the landlord say, or I don't know, like the building owners, they could say, actually, here's another clause. Did you notice this? And this is what it means for you. And you're like, no, hold on a second. There could also be some kind of like old topics coming back to your attention from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February. Topics connected with the mental health of a family member, and it feels like it's kind of like something that you thought maybe that they were over, but they're not actually over it. So you're kind of like stepping in and maybe having this sort of like heartfelt kind of like series of conversations with them. On the 17th of January, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in Cancer, triggering your 10th house of career and your 4th house of home and private life. The sun is conjunct Pluto in your 4th house of home. So I recommend doing the following. This is a point of culmination and closure and ending. Your home and family life, as you know it, is ending. And similarly, your reputation and your status in the outside world is also changing. When I say your status, I'm referring to going from married to single, or from single to married, or from single to engaged, or from parent, from non-parent to going to be a parent. I do recommend looking back at what was going on in your life around the 9th of July 2021, because that's when you seem to have started something new in terms of your professional life and in terms of your status and your reputation, and now you're finalizing it. Some Libras, especially Libra risings, may hear of a boss leaving their current company. Some of you may resign your current job. Some of you may have like a very important announcement to make to your boss as a result of what's been going on in your home and family life, and something coming to the surface, maybe something that you did not really expect. On the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 8th house, so it feels like you're moving forward when it comes to a a mental health kind of like related matter, like a psychological kind of like state of like turmoil. It's like, now I get it. Now I see it. Now I feel like I'm having a breakthrough. It also feels like you're starting to make progress once again after a period of delays when it comes to your investments. Also, if there was kind of like a lot of frustration in the area of shared resources, slowly but surely, this is kind of like getting off the ground once again. We do have the North Node on the 19th of January until July of 2023. We do have the North Node moving into your 8th house. Essentially, in the next year and a half, you're probably going to have to learn to approach the area of shared resources and of intimacy differently. And you're probably going to have a lot to learn about other people's values and about other people's psyche and other people's motivations. You're also probably going to have to approach the area of debt differently by the looks of it. Now, from the 20th of January for the next 4 weeks, we have the sun illuminating your 5th house of fun, of children, of creative self-expression. It looks like this is a period of time of having fun with friends. It also looks like you could be maybe bringing your romantic partner in your circle of friends, and that seems to be kind of like a very important area of focus for you. You could also be making plans with friends on how to have fun in 2022. On the 24th of January, Mars moves into Capricorn until the 6th of March. Essentially, you're putting a lot of energy, maybe even physical energy, in the area of home. I'm thinking maybe you're renovating the home. By the way, this can lead to conflicts with family members, this energy. Best thing to do is keep in mind that everyone's ego is very strong throughout this period, and you may feel attacked by family members actually when they don't want to attack you. You also seem to be funneling, is that a word? Directing a lot of your money towards home-related matters, living situation kind of related matters, a great deal between the 24th of January and the 6th of March. On the 29th of January, Venus goes direct. Yay! You're finally feeling more on the same page, maybe with a family member. And on the 30th of January, we have a square between the sun in your 5th house and transiting Uranus in your 8th house. It looks like your how should I say, your passions and your hobbies are rubbing a partner, an intimate partner, the wrong way. So you might need to rediscuss maybe how you spend your time when you engage in something that you're very passionate about. Also, a partner might not necessarily appreciate how you spend kind of like shared resources. Also, this is a bad day, and you know me, I don't use these words lightly. This is a bad day for gambling. It is a bad day. Like, genuinely, if you can, stay away from it. Now, if you are a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, my lovely Scorpios, January for you is going to be filled with a lot of short distance travel, a lot of communications, a lot of paperwork, a lot of back and forth, a lot of reconnecting maybe with old clients, with old colleagues. And why is that? Well, because there is so much energy concentrated in your 3rd house. We've got Venus retrograde in your 3rd house until the 29th of January. You could reconnect. You could be back in communication with an old partner, business partner, or romantic partner until the end of the month. We obviously have lunations triggering this part of your chart. We also have Mercury retrograde for a portion of its retrograde in this area of your chart. Now, let me start with the super good news. Ta-da! Jupiter. Jupiter is in Pisces in your 5th house, well, for most of this year, but it's the first full month of having Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter is the ruler of your 2nd house of income, and with its transit through Pisces until pretty much the end of the year, you are feeling like you deserve to spend your hard-earned cash on what brings you joy. And you are probably going to direct a lot of your income towards fun stuff this year. Also, towards your passions and hobbies. Also towards children, if you have children. Speaking of children, this year does bring the opportunity for you to have children if you want to. It also looks like you are becoming already in January a lot more appreciative of your creative talents, and you're feeling very inspired, my dear Scorpios. Like 2022 is a beautiful year, especially for Scorpio risings, for creative endeavors. It's like your inspiration is going to be through the roof. I kid you not. Use it. It's not something that happens every year. Like, you know, Jupiter transits happen once every 12 years. If you don't know, then now you know. So this is a bit of an important chapter in that regard. Now, let me not get ahead of myself. Let's talk about the new moon happening on the 2nd of January. So, 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, new moon in Capricorn in your 3rd house, trining Uranus and Taurus in your 7th house. What's going on here? Well, those of you who wanted to make some sort of sale and this has been dragging on forever, it looks like you're finally making the sale. If you are looking for a buyer of any sort of nature, it looks like you're finding the buyer. It is a fantastic day to reach out to an old client, and generally it's a fantastic period to reach out to an old client because you could get a lot of business out of them. You're very persuasive around this time. You could also network very successfully around this time when it comes to maybe connecting with people that you know already, but that you did not do business with up until this point, and now it feels like the stars are aligning. Alas. This could also be a time when you finally have some sort of breakthrough, a communicational breakthrough with a partner, a business partner, or a romantic partner. It's like all of a sudden you get each other, you're on the same page. It could also be a time when you enroll upon some sort of course, practical course, maybe something that helps you negotiate better, present better, be more persuasive in general, maybe something that allows you to present information or teaches you how to present information in a more succinct and innovative way. In any case, whatever you're learning around this time, or whatever you start learning around this time, seems to be a hit in one-to-one relationships and interactions. And also, if you work as a consultant, oh my days, this is perfect for you. Let's talk about the Mercury retrograde. So, Mercury is going to be retrograde between the 14th of January and the 26th of January in your 4th house, and from the 26th until the 3rd of February in your 3rd house. So, Mercury retrograde in your 4th house means that you're probably, from the 14th of January until the 26th, you're probably going to have to maybe take a bit of a step back on some of the plans that you had made, connected with your home and family life and connected with your living situation. For instance, if you had planned to buy new furniture, then you might need to revisit that. If you had planned to move into a new house, you might need to wait a little bit. It may not happen kind of like straight away. There could be some delays. If you were hoping to purchase a new property, there seems to be some delays in terms of legal agreements. So take it slow, take it easy, go with a fine-tooth comb through anything that you need to kind of like review or revisit. Mercury retrograde in your 3rd house between the 26th of January and the 3rd of February might indicate some messages getting lost in translation with colleagues, with co-workers, also messages getting lost in translation with friends, because Mercury also rules your 11th house of friends. This can also indicate delays on the road. It can also indicate issues with your car or with your preferred means of transportation. If it's a bike, then there could be some challenges with your bike. Maybe you need to, I don't know, like change something on it. So consider yourselves warned, Scorpios. 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there is a full moon in your 9th house in Cancer, triggering your 9th house, 3rd house axis. And the sun is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in your 3rd house. The sun for you, my dear Scorpios, rules your 10th house of career. Okay, so you are completing maybe a learning chapter, or you are completing a legal process, but it doesn't seem to end exactly the way that you wanted it to end. I'll just go out there and say it. If you are waiting for results from exams, now one particular result may not necessarily be fully what you expected. If you are doing any sort of like investigation or like research work in a professional environment, you might bump into super confidential information that kind of like changes your opinion, changes your take on leadership and on the direction of the company or something like that. It's like you're finding something that's kind of like I don't want to say a bomb, but it feels like it could throw everything up in the air. You could also hear news around this time, and maybe not exactly the news that you were expecting, connected with traveling. There could be some issues with travel plans around this time. You may also find out that you need to resit an exam. You may also have a bit of an epiphany at a mental level. It's like, oh my days, I was looking at my work and my work goals and my business kind of like relationships and partnerships from a place of naivety. And now that I know this information, or now that I'm looking at it with this kind of like new lens, new filter, it's like, oh my days, how could I be so narrow in my approach? So it does feel a little bit like your perspective when it comes to your career path and when it comes to business relationships is changing. Let's say. I mean, at least that's what I'm seeing here. 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 7th house of relationships. So it feels like your partnership sector is moving forward. If there was a feeling of like things being stagnant, not anymore. And especially not anymore also with the North Node moving into your 7th house until July of 2023. My dear Scorpios, your relationships will go through massive changes in the next year and a half, and also your approach to relationships and also what you prioritize in relationships. All of these topics will go through massive, radical changes in the next year and a half with the North Node in your 7th house. 20th of January, the sun moves into Aquarius in your 4th house of home. For the next 4 weeks, it looks like your attention is being drawn to this area of your life, and you might be kind of like thinking, okay, is this the place for me to live in? Or is this really where I feel like home? It does feel like you're very busy at work, but on the other hand, something quite urgent and something from the past is calling you to deal with it once again when the sun is in Aquarius in your 4th house. 24th of January, Mars moves into Capricorn in your 3rd house until the 6th of March. Mars rules you and also your 6th house of health and of work. It looks like you need to learn something, and you need to learn it fast for work. Maybe learn a new process, maybe kind of like hit the ground running straight away, because there's something kind of like shifting very rapidly in your work environment. 29th of January, Venus finally goes direct in your 3rd house. So if you felt like conversations with someone were going nowhere, with a colleague, with maybe like kind of like a potential professional collaborator, at least from the 29th of January onwards, it might feel like, okay, I've got some clarity. You know where you stand. And 30th of January, the sun in Aquarius in your 4th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 7th house. You might disagree tremendously with a partner on a matter concerning your home and living situation. And this could take you very much by surprise from the partner's side, because maybe you thought that you were on the same page. And your partner actually maybe doesn't want to do what you want to do at home, or doesn't want to live where you want to live, or doesn't want to kind of like jump on board with your plans in terms of your family life and living situation. So that needs to be discussed. That is Scorpio. My dear Sagittarius, Sagittarius suns, and Sagittarius risings. What does January 2022 look like for you? Well, it looks exciting. And why does it look exciting? Because it looks like the money's coming in. A lot of money's coming in. Old money, new money. Well, there can be some delays around money as well, but it's still good news. There's a lot of activity in your second house of income. We also have the first full month of Jupiter moving through Pisces in your fourth house of home. We also have a super nicely aspected new moon on the 2nd of January. Of course, we also have a retrograde. Not everything can be rosy. A second retrograde of Mercury in your third house and a little bit in your second house. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let's talk a bit about Jupiter. So Jupiter in Pisces in your fourth house of home is already, by the looks of it, in January, offering you opportunities to maybe go bigger in terms of your living situation, in terms of your home and family life. It could be offering you opportunities throughout the whole of 2022 to maybe purchase a new home, purchase a new property, find a home, and create a home life that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like, yes, this is home, or this is what home should look like. It also looks like throughout most of this year, your identity is going to be very much tied up with developments happening in your home and family life. And there's some very auspicious things happening in this part of your life. And they could already be underway in January. Now, if nothing happens in January, have a think about how you can improve your home life, your living situation, and where you can go from here. Because this is a big theme for you in 2022, Sagittarians. Now, Venus is retrograde in your second house of income until the 29th of January. Venus for you, my dear Sagittarius, governs your 6th house and your 11th house. A few things may happen here. You may receive opportunities from old friends to collaborate with them. You could be paid for work that you've done a while back, and finally, it's time to get paid, even though it's later than you expected. You could also experience until the end of the month, maybe some people walking back on the agreements that you had in terms of making money together. But if that happens, fret not. It's making room for an even more lucrative partnership or an even more lucrative collaboration. I'm very confident in that. Why? Because on the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a new moon in Capricorn in your second house of income, trining Uranus and Taurus in the 6th house of day-to-day work. So I'm thinking here that you are signing maybe with a new client, or you're bringing some sort of like new source of income in your life, or you're finally kind of like reaching the deal that you wanted to reach a while back, and your income is going up. It can be a time when you receive an unexpected opportunity to increase your income. It looks like you are realizing, okay, my budget is higher than it used to be. I'm making more money than I used to make. What do I do with this? It's kind of like a good time to reevaluate your money, your income, your budget, and to start being very strategic about it, maybe in a way that you've wanted to be a while back, but now it feels like everything is kind of like falling into place. You could say. You could start a new job around this time. You could be getting paid in a new job for the first time, and you can see how your kind of like bank account is kind of like going up. So there's a significant rise. You may also decide around this time to make money in a way that you wanted to do a while back, but again, it didn't materialize for whatever reason, and now it's like boom, it's happening. I absolutely love this new moon. Why? Because there's this element of like pleasant surprise with Uranus there. Now, I do want to tell you that Mercury is going retrograde for half of this month. From the 14th of January until the 26th, it's going to be retrograde in your third house. And from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, it's going to be retrograde in your second house of income. 14th of January till the 26th, there could be delays on the road. There could be misunderstandings with siblings. There could be old kind of like points of contention coming back to your attention in your relationship with siblings, but also in your relationship with your life partner. You may also have to retake maybe an exam or sit through a course that you sat through a while back. I have a lot of stones here with me, in case you're wondering. I keep them close. You could have to maybe revisit old course material throughout this period. You may also need to maybe change something like an old kind of piece of equipment in your mode of transportation, car, and so on. Now, from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, there could be some old conversations coming back to your attention around the topic of money, how you make your money with your boss. You may realize that you've signed up to something that you didn't think that you had. You may also realize that there is something kind of like outstanding that you need to deliver in order to get paid. You might also renegotiate maybe a financial agreement that was already in place with a boss or with a business partner throughout this period. I really want to ask you when Mercury is retrograde in this part of your chart. I want to ask you to be very careful what you sign and to read it 5 times if possible, and also, if possible, to not invest in kind of like new pieces of equipment, of technology. No new phones, no new laptop if possible, because something might be wrong with them. They could be faulty, essentially. You could also spend some money to fix a piece of equipment throughout this period, from the 26th of January until the 3rd of February. Now, on the 17th of January, 3 days before or 3 days after, we have a full moon triggering your financial axis, Sagittarius. The sun is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in your 2nd house, and I want you to look back at what was going on in your financial sector around the 9th of July, 3 days before, 3 days after, in 2021. This can be a time when you reap the rewards of an existing investment. This can be a time maybe when you get approved for a mortgage. This could also be a time when an existing investment, I don't want to scare you, but it could flop. So it's kind of like it feels like a reversal. It feels like something unexpected is happening. And it may also feel like an old investment, maybe that you did not put like so much hope into, is kind of like rising back from the dead. It's like, I'm alive and I'm lucrative. Things can go in either direction. They can be quite extreme when we've got Pluto involved. You may also have to pay taxes around this time, and it could be more than you thought you would have to pay. You could also maybe be dragged into a larger expense that's not necessarily your expense, but it is the expense of a partner, and you want to support them, and so on. You could pay back a debt around this time, and it could be a very significant debt, and it's kind of like helping you breathe easily, I would say, Sagittarius, because it was weighing quite heavily on your shoulders. Uranus goes direct on the 18th of January in your 6th house. I like this because if you have been experiencing challenges work-wise and health-wise, it feels like things are getting better in this area of your life. The North Node moves into Taurus in your 6th house on the 19th of January, Sagittarius, for a year and a half until July of 2023. Your focus is going to be, so your cosmic homework is going to be for the next year and a half, to revisit and to reevaluate your work sector, to reevaluate what you do on a day-to-day basis, to reevaluate, maybe to take on new responsibilities, new duties. Your cosmic homework is to get out of a state of being passive and get down to it, get down to work, make something happen for you, create a sense of stability and security through taking kind of like daily steps in the direction of that, and maybe like setting a new kind of like schedule for yourself, setting new goals for yourself on a day-to-day basis, reevaluating, like I said, your rituals, your routines. From the 20th of January for the next 4 weeks, the sun moves into Aquarius in your third house. It looks like you are talking to a lot of people. You're meeting a lot of people. You could be selling something throughout this period. You could be buying a lot. You could be maybe learning something, something that you already know of. But I hope I don't drive you nuts with the stones, Sagittarius. It feels like you're maybe learning something that you already have knowledge of, but you want to get deeper into it. 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars enters Capricorn in your second house. You are going to be hustling like no one's business and making that money your number one priority. Until the 6th of March, I would say. It may also feel like you are monetizing better. One of your hobbies or passions or something that you do for fun, because Mars also rules your fifth house. So you could be making money from the 24th of January until the 6th of March out of something that you would do for fun. So that's always a bonus. That's a plus. Venus goes direct in Capricorn in your second house. So if there were kind of like instances where it wasn't clear where you're headed in terms of collaborations with a business partner, maybe there wasn't enough clarity in terms of how much you would get paid. It feels like clarity is coming. You're getting that clarity from the 29th of January onwards. And on the 30th of January, the Sun in Aquarius in your third house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the sixth house. There could be a bit of a breakdown in the middle of the road, maybe kind of like an accident that keeps you from getting to work. There could also be some sort of like sudden inflammation that you need to deal with straight away, of a physical nature. That maybe interferes a little bit with what you had planned for that particular day. I would be flexible on this day because it doesn't look like your schedule is going to go exactly according to plan, Sagittarius. Now, if you are a Capricorn sun or a Capricorn rising, my lovely Capricorns, what is January like for you? Well, I like it. Why do I like it? Because you're becoming more confident in who you are. You're learning to appreciate yourself more. You're learning to give yourself more credit. You're learning to acknowledge more your talents and skills, and you're also reconnecting with what brings you joy. And why do I say reconnecting? Because Venus is going to be retrograde throughout the whole of this month until the 29th of January in your first house of identity, and Venus rules your fifth house of love, of passions, of hobbies, of fun, of entertainment. It is a very good month to focus on you. It is a very good month to ask yourself, what do I really like? What brings me joy? What do I do for me? Not because it's my duty, not because it's expected of me. What do I do for myself? That is your number one question this month, Capricorns. You have Jupiter in Pisces in your third house. It's the first full-blown month of Jupiter in Pisces in the third house. Jupiter is going to be in this part of your chart for most of this year. Essentially, Jupiter is bringing you an expansion of your practical skills this year. It's going to probably nudge you to learn something new, maybe to take on classes, courses, not because you're forced, but because you want to. And because you want to learn more about your blind spots. With Jupiter in your third house, you're very persuasive. You can sell better than you've sold in a long time. And when I say sell, I mean persuade others. You don't have to work in sales in order to sell something. It is a very, very prolific year for those that are working in the writing industries, creative industries that involve writing. So I'm thinking here of like copywriting, writing scripts and so on. You're very inspired for writing. You could take maybe classes and workshops on writing, on communication, on negotiation skills, on how to present your ideas more eloquently and how to kind of like stir up emotions in others. And you could be already thinking about all of these things in January. 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a new moon in your first house in a trine to Uranus in your 5th house of passions, of hobbies, of romantic love. This can be a time when it feels like you are starting fresh in your life on a topic that you wanted to start fresh a while back, but for whatever reason you couldn't or you weren't ready. So it feels like a new beginning in terms of your romantic life also, or in terms of your passions and hobbies. Maybe you decide to do something for yourself. Maybe you decide to allocate more time to self-care. Maybe you decide to allocate more time to how you treat yourself, how you take care of your body. This can also be a time when you decide to allocate more time to fun matters. It's a great time for dating. It's a great time to connect with someone, especially someone who you are already in touch with. Why? Because Venus is retrograde. So the only exception to kind of like pursuing romance when Venus is retrograde is when you already know the person. So when you have been in touch with them. I generally don't recommend starting off a new fling or relationship or affair, whatever you want to call it, when Venus is retrograde. So I don't recommend kind of like connecting with new people, but it's a great time to connect with people that you are already familiar with and to maybe reevaluate the relationship. It's a very fun time around this new moon in Capricorn for you, my lovely Capricorns. You may also have this sort of aha moment in terms of what your talents are, and in terms of what you are uniquely good at around this new moon. Let's see. We have Mercury retrograde. Yay. It's been a while since Mercury was retrograde in January as well, from the 14th of January until the 3rd of February. From the 14th until the 26th, Mercury is retrograde in your 2nd house of income, so you could be paid money that you were owed in the past. There could also be delays if you're expecting new pay. There could be delays with pay reaching on time. You could also pay for something that you thought was already dealt with when it comes to your education and when it comes to traveling. Maybe you could be getting a refund, maybe for a trip that didn't actually happen. That's possible, especially between the 14th of January until the 26th. From the 26th until the 3rd of February. Mercury is retrograde in your 1st house. Mercury for you Capricorns rules your 6th house and your 9th house. This can be a time when you decide to maybe go for that course, go for that class that you wanted to attend a while back, or when you decide that you need to take care finally, although you've been postponing it, of a health-related issue, of something connected with your health, wellness, and well-being. It can also feel like a time when there are some difficulties in communication with colleagues. Maybe it feels like they don't really get your message because the Mercury also rules your 6th house of day-to-day work. So maybe you need to rephrase it. Maybe you need to clarify certain things. Let's see. 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in Cancer, in your 7th house of relationships. It triggers your 1st house of identity as well. Look back at what was going on in your relationship sector around the 9th of July, 2021, because that's when you had a new moon in this sector of your chart. This could be a time of commitment to a partnership, a time of taking a relationship to the next level. It could also be a time when you decide, actually, this person is not for me. Because you maybe find out something about them that you did not know of. I'm looking at that Pluto that brings secrets. It looks like the relationship dynamic is changing. And that can mean, for some people, saying goodbye. I'll just go out there and say it. It doesn't have to be a personal relationship. It could be a business partnership. You might decide to end a collaboration because it's no longer aligned with where you're headed in life. Uranus goes direct on the 18th of January in your 5th house. So if you have been feeling maybe a little bit blocked in terms of enjoying yourself, in terms of having fun, it feels like the sky is clearing, you could say. The North Node moves into Taurus in your 5th house on the 19th of January, and it's going to stay there for a year and a half until July of 2023. What does that mean? Essentially, your cosmic homework is to focus on what you love, on what you enjoy, on your romantic life, and on children until July of 2023. It can be one of these, it can be all of these. You could say that the universe wants you to also find your unique way of expressing yourself throughout this period, or to maybe reevaluate how you express yourself creatively throughout this period. From the 20th of January until the last week of February, the sun moves into Aquarius in your 2nd house of income, so it illuminates the area of like talents, inner resources, and finances. You could be focusing a lot on, asking for what you are owed, you could say. The sun also rules your 8th house of debts, of taxes. So you could be thinking of like planning your pension, paying your taxes throughout this period. From the 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars is going to be in your 1st house. So you are going to be much more assertive than you normally are. You're going to go after what you want throughout this period. You're going to be more direct, more blunt, more to the point, more impatient, I'd say. Careful not to be too much in a rush and to kind of like bulldoze over people. Because it may feel like everyone else is a lot slower than you are throughout this period. It's a very good period to work on your physical body and to be super active physically, I would say. On the 29th of January, Venus goes direct in Capricorn in your 1st house, so you may have clarity as to what you want in a relationship and as to what your priorities are in relationships. And on the 30th of January, my dear Capricorns, there could be kind of like an unexpected expense that you have to take care of when it comes to like a hobby. Or a fun night out, for instance. So you could go out and maybe spend a lot of money on a night out, and it turns into something bigger than you thought it would turn into. And that is January. My Aquarius brothers and sisters, what does the first month of 2022 look like for you? Well, you're starting off the year with a lot of rest. Why a lot of rest? Well, because there's a lot going on in your 12th house. You're also starting off the year on a very positive note financially, I gotta say. And why is that? Because you're going to have, for most of 2022, Jupiter moving through Pisces in your 2nd house of income. 2022 is a year of increasing your income. It will bring you opportunities to do that. It will bring you opportunities to better monetize your existing talents, I would say, and it will also bring you opportunities to collaborate with various groups of people on lucrative projects. And you might already be thinking of that, and you may already set the ball rolling in that direction in January, because January is the first month in which you have Jupiter in your 2nd house. I would recommend maybe having a think about what you were doing financially and what sort of opportunities came your way between the 13th of May and the 28th of July 2021, when Jupiter was in Pisces also. Venus is retrograde this month in your 12th house until the 29th of January. Venus for you rules your 4th house of home and your 9th house of foreign lands and foreign countries. Essentially, what's going to be on your mind quite a bit is maybe traveling to see family or finally taking a holiday or a break, a vacation that you were supposed to take a while back, but you couldn't for whatever reason, because of life, because of, I don't know, the pandemic, who knows. The good news is that you may have the opportunity to actually plan this trip, this outstanding trip, a trip that was delayed, a trip that was postponed in January, especially around the 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, when you've got this very nicely aspected new moon in your 12th house. Mercury is also retrograde this month, from the middle of the month until the 3rd of February. The first part of the retrograde, from the 14th of January until the 26th of January, is happening in your first house of identity, of the physical body, of new beginnings. You may feel like maybe, possibly, your messages aren't fully landing with people the way that you wanted them to land. You could be going through, a period of feeling a bit misunderstood, especially when you communicate creatively. So if you're working on any sort of like creative projects, and also when you communicate maybe with partners about shared resources, or maybe when you communicate with the bank about, like a loan or mortgage or something of that nature. You may need to revisit paperwork connected with mortgages, loans, debts, taxes between the 14th of January and the 26th of January, my lovely Aquarius siblings. From the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, Mercury also moves into your 12th house along with Venus there. What's going on here is that you want to just enjoy your time off. It feels like your brain is ready for a break. It also feels like you're thinking a lot about the shadow, about your subconscious. Maybe you're thinking a lot about what's happening behind the scenes. You could be thinking a lot about your connection with the divine, about your connection with your higher self. You could be reading a lot in private about these topics, or maybe picking back up, let's say, an old book or an old course, or something that you maybe kind of like studied a while back, and now you're feeling like you want to reread it. 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, I like this new moon in Capricorn in your 12th house because it's trining Uranus and Taurus in the 4th house of home. It looks like you are ready to let go of something that is no longer, let's say, aligned with your authentic self in the area of home and family life. So you could be feeling ready to leave behind a home. You could be feeling ready to leave behind maybe a symbolic attachment to your past. You could be feeling ready to maybe forgive someone in your past, especially a family member. So it looks like you're bearing the hatchet somehow. You're releasing feelings that were kind of like holding you back and maybe holding you a little bit in the past. You also seem to be having an aha moment, maybe about some sort of like old wound or trauma, and you're looking at it from a new perspective. I gotta tell you, Aquarius, this feels like a time of, like spiritual awakening of some sort. On a more mundane level, you could be spending time at home with your family, resting throughout this period, and it feels really good. On the 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Cancer in your 6th house of health and work. It is conjunct Pluto in your 12th house. I'm laughing because I can already see some Aquarius risings in particular handing in their resignation and being like, my mental health is more important than this. Sayonara and goodbye. I don't need this in my life. You can tell that the Aquarius in me is like, yes, who cares about the system? Like, I don't care about this system. I'm leaving the system. I'm like, I'm fully in support of that. I'm taking notes of dates in my palm in case you're wondering whatever is written down here. Some Aquarians around this time may also uncover maybe a health-related issue that has been plaguing them, and it feels like now you know why you are suffering of something that you are suffering health-wise, maybe connected with food, with nutrition, with your digestive system. It also feels like a time maybe when you are uncovering the emotional source of a physical ailment. And even though it's not pleasant, it is still productive in some shape or form. It can be a time of healing, but it can also be a time of awareness as to what you need to release in terms of habits in order to feel better, physically and mentally, my dear Aquarius. And some of you might need to release a job. I'll just say it, or a habit connected with your work. On the 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 4th house of home. If there have been some delays in terms of what you want to accomplish in your home and family life, Uranus going direct is going to help smooth the path moving forward. The North Node is moving into your 4th house of home. For the next year and a half, on the 19th of January, my lovely Aquarius, your cosmic homework is going to be to build a new home and family life, to maybe move into a new home, to relocate, to build a family for yourself. And there will be changes, there will be shifts in this area of life. The next year and a half is a period of growth and of focus, geared towards your home life and family life and private life, and less geared towards your public life, public status, public situation, kind of like career, reputation, and so on. On the 20th of January, the sun moves into your 1st house, into Aquarius. Obviously, you could say that you're going to attract a lot of attention in the next 4 weeks until the last week of February. Why? Because the sun rules your 7th house, so it feels like everyone's looking at you. And it feels like even in relationships and partnerships, partners are expecting you to kind of like lead the way. They're expecting you to say, this is what we're doing. This is where we're headed. Everyone's kind of like watching you and what you have to say in terms of the future. Mars moves into Capricorn in your 12th house from the 24th of January until the 6th of March. Mars rules your 3rd house of learning and your 10th house. It looks like you are taking active steps behind the scenes to release maybe an old kind of like job or even professional path. You could also be working behind the scenes maybe to find a new job throughout this entire period. You could also be studying something behind the scenes. And it feels like something that you want to kind of like apply in your work, maybe a soft skill or a skill of I don't know, like keeping your composure, maintaining your inner balance, and so on. I dare say. 29th of January, Venus goes direct in your 12th house in Capricorn. If you have been having maybe second thoughts about an old relationship, an old partnership, it feels like you're ready to release it and to finally let go of it. If you've been wondering whether you're making the right move home-wise, once again, the doubt might be dissipating after the 29th of January. 30th of January, the sun in Aquarius in your 1st house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 4th house of home. You may be unpleasantly surprised, I'll just say it, by the fact that a family member is not necessarily supportive of where you're headed in terms of growth, in terms of life direction. There could also be something that's kind of like breaking in the house, and it's taking your focus off of what you want to do for yourself on that particular day, and it's drawing your attention to the home. It's drawing your attention to the needs maybe of a family member. I'm also thinking of like maybe there being a disruption in terms of food, in terms of resources at this point in time on this particular day, my dear Aquarius. And your head is not in it, but you have to deal with it because it's a bit of an emergency, I'd say. That is January for you, Aquarians. Now, if you are a Pisces sun or Pisces rising, what does January look like for you? Folks, you're the lucky ones in 2022. Why do I say this? Well, because you have Jupiter in your corner. Jupiter, the great benefic, the great protector, the bringer of good luck. Whatever risks you're taking this year, whatever leaps of faith you're taking this year, Pisces, and especially those who have Pisces rising, but also personal planets in Pisces. So Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury. If you've wanted to get out of your comfort zone and grow this is it. This is your year to do so. It is a year of opportunity. It is a year of expansion. Very careful with Jupiter in your first house not to make the expansion about your physical body, because Jupiter in the first house can put on weight. Therefore, expand yourself in different directions. Expand yourself through learning, through traveling, through working on yourself in a novel kind of way. That's my recommendation. Those are my 2 cents. This is actually a very social month for you, my dear Pisces. Most of it is very social because there's a lot of energy in your 11th house. And there's also this energy of reevaluating your long-term goals and plans. You're feeling more positive. You're feeling more optimistic, obviously, with Jupiter in your corner. Take that leap. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Jupiter is going to like chew more than they can eat, or like bite more than they can chew. I think that's the saying. If not now, then when? I'm sorry, but I feel like so many people hold themselves back out of fear and out of like precaution, and like because they don't want to make a mistake. If we don't make mistakes, like how are we ever going to grow? If we don't try out something new, how are we ever going to fulfill our potential? So I'm sorry, but those saying that Jupiter is like exaggeration and so on, like we need a little bit of exaggeration. We need a little bit of positivity. We need a bit of optimism. Chase that star, Pisces, and do it in 2022. Okay, so pep talk over. Let's talk about the astrology. 2nd of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, my dear Pisces, you have a new moon in your 11th house in a harmonious aspect with Uranus and Taurus in the 3rd house. It looks like you're joining a group of people, maybe that you wanted to join for quite some time, in a classroom type of situation, and you feel at home, you feel welcome, you feel like you belong. It also feels like you are finally maybe starting off a collaboration on a project that involves writing, speaking, communicating, teaching, together with a community of people. And again, it feels like something that should have happened a while back, but it's finally happening now, and it's happening in an even better way than you could have envisaged it, Pisces. So I'm loving this for you. This is a time to make new plans connected with studies, connected with learning, connected with the writing. You're feeling super inspired. If you wanted to write, I don't know, like that book, that script, that novel, get going. What are you waiting for? We do have a Mercury retrograde. Okay, so yes, this is happening. Like I said at the very beginning, that 2022 brings a fresh start, but it's a start with like delays, you know? It's like a slow new start. Mercury is retrograde from the 14th of January until the 3rd of February, from the 14th until the 26th of January. It's retrograde in your 12th house, so you might be reevaluating some of the work that you've done in terms of understanding your blind spots, in terms of understanding your shadow, in terms of understanding your connection with maybe the collective subconscious. Mercury for you rules your 4th house and your 7th house. You could be rethinking how you approach your blind spots in relationships. Also, you could have a little bit or a lot on your mind throughout this period. I was about to be very morbid and say a dead relationship, an old partnership. You could be doing the post-mortem, so kind of like a reanalysis of it and saying, okay, I understand better now what has happened at that point in time. I understand better now why I reacted in the way that I reacted. I'm taking kind of like, I'm taking the learnings for the future in my partnerships, personal ones and business ones. It's also possible that you could be maybe traveling with your partner, with a committed partner around this time to their home. It seems to be maybe a trip that was delayed, and again, it was postponed, and now it's finally happening. From the 26th of January until the 3rd of February, Mercury is retrograde in your 11th house. So this has spelled all over it catch-ups with old friends, catch-ups with old collaborators, getting back in touch with a community that you maybe weren't in contact with for quite some time. Maybe traveling home and spending time at home with friends from your childhood, because Mercury also rules your 4th house of home. So it's not too bad, but remember, there can also be misunderstandings with friends. Things can get lost in translation. People can be late. So Mercury retrograde, what can you do? We have a bit of a tense full moon on the 17th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, in Cancer, in your 5th house. It is opposing the Sun conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in your 11th house. Think about what you were doing around the 9th of July, 2021, because this full moon can mirror themes that were active in your life in July. Did you maybe start off like a new romance around that time? Did you maybe kind of like start allocating more time to a new hobby of some sort? Did you maybe put more time into a hobby or something of an entertaining nature? Because if you did, then you could create something, or you could have something to show for your effort, for your time spent on that around the 17th of January. You could show your creative project. You could expose it to the outside world around the 17th of January. It feels like a time when you are completing something of a creative nature. It feels like also a time when a romantic relationship can go in either direction. You could have to deal with maybe some sort of like hidden information coming to the surface about one of your friends also around this time, and also about a romantic partner. Based off of this, you might have to reevaluate the plans that you had made, either with a friend or with a romantic partner or with both. This can also be a time when you meet someone romantically and you feel smitten. It could be someone that you know already, because Venus is retrograde. You might know them as a friend, as an acquaintance, but now you realize, oh my gosh, the chemistry is absolutely insane. What do we do with this? Overall, take it slow, take it easy. Remember, Venus is retrograde. Romantic partners might not be exactly what they seem at this point in time. So careful with novel commitments when Venus is retrograde. So Venus is retrograde until the 29th of January. 18th of January, Uranus goes direct in your 3rd house. So if you have been experiencing challenges in communication with colleagues, with coworkers, with neighbors, with siblings, it feels like the path is becoming smoother after the 18th of January. 19th of January, the North Node moves into Taurus for the next year and a half until July of 2023. It looks like your cosmic homework is to learn something new and practical and dedicate yourself to mastering a hands-on skill until July of 2023. What is that? You could be learning like a new language. You could be kind of like attending workshops throughout this entire period. It feels like you're becoming the student once again. 20th of January, for the next 4 weeks, the Sun moves into Aquarius in your 12th house. The Sun rules your 6th house of health. You could be thinking a lot about how your, let's say, mental health is having a positive or a negative impact upon your performance at work, maybe. You could also be focusing more on your mental health and less on what you do on a day-to-day basis at work throughout this entire period. You could also be planning a vacation throughout this entire period, because it feels like you want to take some time off. It feels like you've done a lot and you deserve it. 24th of January until the 6th of March, Mars enters Capricorn in your 11th house. You're going to have a lot of energy to put towards the fulfillment of a long-term goal, of an objective. A lot of energy also towards forming new alliances, but you want to be in charge. You want to be the initiator. It also looks like you're taking this sort of like leadership role for a wider group of people, very likely throughout this period. 29th of January, Venus goes direct. Woohoo! In your 11th house. You're getting more clarity on what you want to do next. And you're getting more clarity on who is actually on your side and who can help you fulfill one of your objectives this year. And on the 30th of January, we have a tense date for everyone, not just for you. The Sun in Aquarius in your 12th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 3rd house. You feel pretty much misunderstood by a colleague or by a sibling or by someone that you work with. And you're thinking, is it me? Is it them? Like, did I use the right words? It feels like you are not seen and like heard by one of these people. There could also be an unexpected kind of like, I don't know, like car breakdown in the middle of the road incident on your travels towards, I don't know, if you're going on holiday. I don't know, the taxi gets stopped by a police officer and it takes forever and it's like, oh my gosh, like we need to get to the airport. So allow for some extra time when it comes to traveling on that particular date. That is Pisces for January. Thank you, folks, for joining me for the first horoscope of 2022. Do let us know in the comments how the month unfolds for you. As I said before, even if I don't respond to every single comment because there's so many of them, I read them all, and I do appreciate when you share what's going on. If you haven't subscribed to my podcast or to my channel, what are you waiting for? It really helps with the engagement and with the algorithm, and I really appreciate it in general, I have to say. Don't forget, if you want to work with me, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. Go to the services section to see what sort of like readings and consultations you can go for. And if you want to join my masterclass in January, Natal Chart Interpretation Masterclass, step-by-step, hands-on approach to natal chart interpretation. We're going to get together for like 6 hours over 2 different Saturdays, 8th of January and 15th. Both sessions are going to be recorded, so you can rewatch them, re-listen to them. I've spent more than 40 hours putting together the course material with examples, with tips, and my personal approach to natal chart interpretation based off of 9 years of astrological practice. This is for those who want to take their natal chart interpretation practice skills to the next level. Happy holidays, happy new year, and I will see you in 2022. Bye.